guys, Laura here again. You're gonna see me in this outfit a lot. I have currently injured my ankle, so I am just sitting in bed making my review video. So you guys will see a few more tonight. Tonight I'm going to do a contemporary review mashup. I'm going to talk about 3 books. I'm going to talk about Emmy and Oliver, which is by Robin Brenway. The Night We Said Yes by Lauren Gibraltar, and The Summer After You and Me by Jennifer Sarkozy. She also wrote My Summer Went Up in Flames, and I really loved all of these books. I think I gave them all like 4.5 stars because they were really good. The first book I'm going to talk about, however, is Emmy and Oliver. I really like this book. I gave this book between 4.5, 5 stars. I really enjoyed it. The book is Emmy and Oliver. It follows this girl named Emmy who, when she was 5 or 6 years old, her best friend Oliver went missing, and he was kidnapped by his dad, and he was just never ever seen ever again. And I know there's a TV show out there. It's called Finding Carter, and it's very similar. But I love Finding Carter, but I really like this book because it gave you such a unique perspective, because it followed not someone in this kid's family, just like a friend, and how his kidnapping had such a drastic impact on her, even though he wasn't there for 16 years. It was really fascinating. I really like learning about that, and I didn't expect that in that book, so it was very cool. And then 16 years later, Oliver is returned back home, and he is found, and he returns home. And it is not an easy transition, and it is so complicated. And I think it's really interesting to me because they really focused not only on, reacquainted with his friends and reacquainting with Emmy, also his mother and his father. And his mother, got remarried, and they had these 2 twins, and Oliver's family moved on without him, and he was with his dad. And it was so interesting just to see that Oliver really had such hard feelings either way about his mom and his dad, and he really didn't know who he liked more. He couldn't tell you because it was such a weird experience for him. But the book was from Emmy's perspective, and it felt to me like, I've said this in a few other videos, kind of like sometimes books create like vessel characters where the character to me really lacks a personality and lacks a sense of self because of something that's happened to her. And that was how Emmy was at the beginning of this book. She really was. I think she lacked an identity because I think it was so hard for her to really be one because her parents were so overprotective. It had nothing to do with her. It really happened to do with what happened to do with Oliver. And I think that it took this whole book for her to really become her own person and be brave. And by the end, I was rooting for Emmy and Oliver. But at the end, I was just like, I wanted more out of Emmy, and it took a while to get there, but I was really happy when it finally did happen, and I was very impressed with it. But I liked how there was really no easy answers in this book. There was no like, well, obviously that's good, that's evil, you're good, you're bad. Everyone was kind of fell into like shades of gray, and Oliver was such a dynamic character. I would love to see e-novella from his point of view and to see how like when he wasn't with these people, like what his life was really like and what his life with his dad was like. You got a few little glimpses of it and you heard about it, but I would love to have a more comprehensive story about that. If you're listening, please do that. I think it would be very interesting, Robin, but don't take my opinion, But yeah, so those are my thoughts about Emmy and Oliver. I really liked it. If you liked Finding Carter, I recommend it, which is a great summer contemporary, and I am on such a kick of those recently. But those are my thoughts. The next book I'm going to talk about is The Summer After You and Me. I really like The Summer After You and Me. I gave it 4 stars. This book is basically about the aftermath of Hurricane Sandy. And the aftermath on a relationship. This book follows the character named Lucy. And she, Hurricane Sandy happens where she's lived, and it happened, from New Jersey to Long Island. I live on Long Island, so we were also affected by Hurricane Sandy, which is why I picked this book up. I was less affected by the rest of Long Island, which thank God, I'm thankful every day for that, but I know many people still are suffering from the damage, and this is, the summer after. And normally she only sees her boy next door, only during the summer, but for some reason during Hurricane Sandy they all came and they all had to go fix this place, and they met and they had a rendezvous in this nice gorgeous house. And she hasn't seen him since. She hasn't talked to him since. So this book does past and present. It's always from Lucy's perspective, but you see things from the past, like what happened then, and then what happens after, and then you have the present. Lucy also has a boyfriend, who she met after Hurricane Sandy, but she's known him forever, and he's, their parents love each other, so it's a very, very, complicated relationship, because even though Lucy really does like this guy, she still has all these other commitments to the people that she sees every day. And in this book, I would say the people not from, the summer folk are not viewed very, very friendly, or not viewed very, very nicely, and I think it's hard for them to really develop friends. Lucy's family hates this guy's family and doesn't view them as very, very nice. And I think that that's mostly her brother Liam, who they're twins. You know me, I have a thing about twins, and I didn't even intentionally mean to pick up a book about twins. It just kind of happened. A lot of the books I've been reading recently have to do with twins. But I don't know, I really like their relationship. I like the relationship with the parents. That was, super, super cool. The parents I thought were interesting. Their dynamics were really cool as well. But yeah, it was a really, really cute summer contemporary. And I really liked how it brought in the Hurricane Sandy. I haven't read any books recently that talk about that, so I was pleasantly surprised, and it really showed, it was the rebuilding of a town, but it was also the rebuilding of a relationship. And I thought it was so interesting to see, how Lucy really grew, and also her family grew, and also how they all learned and changed. And and the through line was this book is that they had to eventually move out so that they could, fix their town up so that they could eventually have, a way to stay on the Jersey Shore. And that was, gut-wrenching to me as, an audience member. Imagine having to lose your house. And it was just so, yeah, those are just my thoughts on The Summer After You and Me. I really liked it. I'm going to hopefully pick up some of her other books. I know she has a few new ones out, so I'll try to pick them up, or ones in the past. But yeah, those are just some of my thoughts about The Summer After You and Me. The next book I'm going to talk about is The Night We Said Yes. I really liked The Night We Said Yes. I gave it 4.5 stars, and the reason I liked it so much was because it really focused not only on the romance, but also on the friendships that were also developing. This book takes place in 2 different time periods. It takes place in the present and also takes place a year ago when Matt and Ella first met, and they had this night where they did a bunch of things that they had to say yes to, like go skinny dipping, go break into school, yada, 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 a bunch of stuff. And then they dated for a while, Emma and Matt, and then he left unexpectedly and kind of shut Ella out of his life, and you don't really know why. And then one day in the present, they go to this party and they meet up with Matt again, because Matt has moved back to Florida to go to school there, and this is the first time Ella has seen him since he's left, or first time he's spoken to him. And Matt tries to concoct this Night We Said Yes again to kind of remind her of their feelings and everything. And it's a really, really interesting novel. I like the 2 time periods. I think you learn a lot about Ella in both of those times. And you also learn a lot about Matt. The only thing that would have given me this book a little bit more push is if I would have gotten Matt's perspective in this book. But I know in August we're getting an e-novella. It's called Matt's Story, and it will be out in early August. And it's just a novel from his perspective. So I'm gonna read that because his story is so complicated and so much happens. I would love to see how he deals with that and what inspired him to come back to town. But yeah, and this book doesn't always just focus on the development of the relationship and what happens. It also focuses on the other friends that Matt left behind and what impact that have, and then what impact did that have on Ella's relationship with her best friend Megan? What happened did that impact have on, Matt's best friend Jake? What impact did that have on everybody? It was such a fast-paced book, and the chapters, the past and present chapters really complemented each other nicely. Like, I always saw connections and, like, what was going on. And Matt is such a unique character. I really am excited to learn more about him. I grew to really, really like Ellis. She's always being pushed out the door and says, okay, do this, do this. But I really felt like, she felt like after Matt that she was so broken. And I think that this whole book was kind of her putting the pieces back together. And there was a great line in the book that I really, really related to. For so long you wait for it's all about your parents and parents. Eventually your life becomes about your friends. And I think that in reality and, these days and days for teenagers, that's what it is. Their family is their friends. And I really, really related to that, especially nowadays. But I liked how, like, the relationships were really described and examined, and how the book really did focus on Ella and Matt, but it also focused on so many other things, and it was just such a great book. It talks about college, it talks about family drama, it talks about so much stuff, underage drinking. It was just a fast-paced, amazing read, and I, could not get through it fast enough. But yeah, those are just my thoughts on all of these contemporaries. If you guys have any comments below, just comment below. Go to my Twitter, go to my Goodreads, any other links I post below, go to. But yeah, let's start the conversation. What do you think? Is there any other summer contemporaries I should be reading? Or ones I shouldn't? Just comment below. What have you been reading this summer? What do you guys read during the summer? Do you guys read contemporaries? Do you guys read series? What do you guys like to read? Alright, I'll talk to you guys later.